One of the things, a question I do want to ask, and this is when it pertains to career advancements. One, just doing the advocacy, and then prior to the years prior, your culinary, your progression, even now with what you're doing. Because it dawned on me actually when I was typing this up and I was asking that to you. It dawned on me that any progression that I've ever had in my career was because of a Black or brown individual, never from a white person offering to lift me up in my journey. And I was just like, shit, out of the almost 20 years that I've been in this industry, all opportunities have literally came from a Black or brown person, never a white person. All setbacks have came from a white person. And I was just like, damn. And then, also then thought about, well, it makes sense because anytime someone said something racist or a guest didn't want me to take care of them because I'm Black, it was that white manager who thought that was okay and, deemed it was fine. White people are allowed to say that and do that. And I was just like, well, shit. So, when it pertains to your personal experience and then any career advancements that you have, who is the individual? Did you ever pay attention to that? Who's giving you these opportunities?
Wait, this list is going to be slightly long, but if I had to give it to a group of individuals, as you can hear my phone going off in the background, the group chat. To the individuals that are in the group chat, they know who they are. But one of the first people to really give me a shot was Daranisha, Miss Janetta, Daranisha Duncan Boyd, Janetta Johnson from TGIJP, Naima Sanchez of the ACLU, Tiomi Luckett of the Transgender Law Center. I'm a member of Positively Trans, but she was also my block trainer when I started doing HIV work. Before I was even out with my status, her, Atcham Howard. It's a contingency of Black and brown trans people and Black and brown trans people and people of color that have pushed me. Selena Morrison, the executive director of the Office of LGBTQ Affairs here in Philly. Deja Alvarez. Darius McLean. Yeah, everybody. It's always been somebody Black or brown. For me, what it is that they've always seen, and they tell me this, it's something I see in you and I think you'll be good here. When you see the strength in your own skin tone or hue of melanin, it gives you hope. It's something else that you as a Black leader don't have to do. And you can actually pass that off or give that opportunity or platform that person, and it costs you nothing to support that person. Those people or individuals, I cannot forget Brianna Jenkins and the folks over at the Lavender Rights Project. That entire staff is African American and people of color, and who just brought me out to Atlanta for that Black trans policy convening. All of those folks, not one of them is white. It has a lot to do with the mission of elevating Blackness. We depend too much on white folks in the struggle, in my opinion, or who have partnered with us in the struggle for them to leverage power that we actually already have.
Yeah.
We just need to be able to see it for what it is. And if it doesn't look like the power that comes from within you, then that may be a little bit of your vision block. Transmasculine power is not going to show up like trans feminine power. We have a weapon of silence and stealthness that, if leveraged, we can touch people that you could never.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even in being outed, before that, all the cis men on my job respected my word. They took me for my word because they didn't see me as an other. That is a powerful tool to talk to, especially Black men who are killing Black trans women.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are the men that I talk to. Those are the men that by telling them that, look, she's a human being. it takes nothing for me to say, you know what? Nah, bro, that's not how you handle that. If you're not sure, ask her, hey, what are your pronouns? And then you follow suit. You follow her direction. You do not insert your own opinion, because opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, and yours don't matter. Unless you wanted to, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely been black and brown, trans women, trans men that have propelled me to everywhere I've been, with the support of some white trans folks, um, who are, or white passing trans folks, because we have Latinx folks that are white passing that are doing the work as well for us. So shout out to my not so brown Latinx folks who are leveraging their privilege and their adjacency to whiteness for more melanated folks and marginalized folks.
Yep. That's good. I noticed that too. And that is definitely something that is appreciated, especially, if you can pass, if you color-wise, if you can definitely pass for a white individual and you can use that to your advantage, I say go for it. Go for it as hard as possible. Because unfortunately, the reality is, even with certain policies and so forth that still need to be passed, these old white folks will listen to those that look similar to them rather than anyone that looks like us. So, and that is the harsh reality of it. Now, so being in the industry, right? And I circle back to it simply because that's outside of being in the military. Hospitality is the main scope, and real estate. And then that's a whole nother topic of trans people being able to get real estate, and that's a thing that I definitely want to talk about too. But I realized that my surroundings was very diverse in the sense, having everyday conversations with Republicans or right wing individuals and so forth, and them not being educated on exactly who the hell they're talking to and carrying a conversation with, and then even cisgendered individuals in general, not necessarily being educated enough to know what to appropriately say out of their mouth. But yet, what I'm saying, you view me as an equal, as we're sitting here having the same job, making the same amount of money in a sense, tip wise. You see me as an equal, but then at the same time, your beliefs are not that of mine. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not for what I stand for outside of this. And so, you got a group of individuals all in one thing, but then the reality is you're working with Trump supporters, and you're working with individuals who are literally idolizing this stupidity that man says out of his, the stuff that he says out of his mouth. You're individuals who say the dumb stuff that they would say about trans individuals, and then the stupid stuff about. I had somebody ask me a daggone question about a trans teacher or something, like how they would feel if they found out that their child's teacher was trans. And I was like, what? Why do you want to know about what your teacher got, what the child teachers got in their pants? That shouldn't even be a concern. If your child is there getting an education, get the what are you concerning yourself about who the child teacher's sleeping with? That's not your business at all. But that is constantly a topic now, today still, that people choose to want to have.
Okay, so working in this kitchen with these folks, I think I was more shocked at who was the effing Trump supporter for me. Okay? Because, I wasn't too big on Hillary, but I'm like, I don't want this stiff-haired, bag wig wearing, orange scab to get in here. So, like, we really don't talk about politics at work. You're not supposed to. But this is some wild shit that's happening. Like, he's garnering. Like, we watched the DNC and the RNC that year at work because we're like, okay, this is, we gonna tune in. And then the day I'll never forget it, I walked in and all of the management team was back there. The head chef and one of our line cooks that got promoted, who became a chef. We used to call her by her last name. Like, her last name is like Pagnata or some shit like that. And it's all the inappropriate shit that's going on in the kitchen. Like, Hurricane Pagnata. Like, it's because she'll do an entire like line by herself just to prove she was that good.
Yeah.
So, mind you, this person's intersecting identities, were like, first off, she was Puerto Rican, very Puerto Rican, proud Puerto Rican. She was also a butch lesbian. Okay, and then she said, "Yeah, I'm voting for Trump." I said, "Why?" Like, I was so shocked that I was just like, "Why?" Well, he's a businessman. Have y'all read how many bankruptcies this motherfucker done had? He don't bankrupt people to work on his. Not my business. You don't give a fuck about the Puerto Ricans that work and build houses and build casinos and none of that. And he screwed them people out their money. Atlantic City's in bad shape because of this man. Okay. So after having that heart attack, Larry, my head chef, goes, "Well, I'm in it because, my insurance premiums are through the roof and, I can't get Obamacare." And I'm just like, wham, 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 white man that makes 6 figures working here. So he was like, "I just had a baby." That's a tax credit, bitch. Like, I'm thinking, as you're complaining, you're talking about the things that you can write off. Like, you also own your own LLC as a business owner. Like, oh, you don't do your taxes. You have an accountant. Privilege. Like, I'm looking at all of I'm like, oh, no, this actually makes a lot of sense. I was just blind to it because of how you treated me as a human being. I was also told that he knew, but he never switched up. None of my immediate chefs switched up. They didn't care. But they were also told that I was trans. So having this conversation, I'm just like, y'all don't care about my people at all. Y'all don't care. I said, y'all two suck because y'all have all black employees and y'all want to sit there and do that shit. I said, it's personal. I get it. We're not supposed to be talking about politics. I get it. But also, that means y'all wouldn't spit on us if our ass was on fire.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But that says a lot more about y'all.
Yep.
Finding that out, I was like, fuck. I can't be around this. Mm-hmm. I really can't be around this. And it took me about 2 years to get out before I was outed. So, like, that happened maybe 2 years into Trump's presidency. Yeah. That happened. I was done. But before I made a grand exit, there was one other place that I worked, and that was at a shelter.
Okay.
And I think what pissed me off there was how it was a men's shelter, so I was in the men's side of the shelter system. The problem with the men's side of the shelter system is that trans women get filtered in it all the time. And the way that they treated one trans woman was in a wheelchair, and they would have her out in the middle of the night, like lights out. Like they would shut down like you couldn't come in there after 10. So she would be out like rolling a regular standard wheelchair in the snow and ice. And there was nobody ever accompanying her. Like I would be leaving work and like I would turn around and push her back to the shelter. And I was just like, yeah, no, I can't do this. And I'm watching the system treat folks like this. I have access. I have access. I just need a job. Luckily for me, Janetta Johnson reached out to me after all those years of like going to Black Girls Rules and like getting the training and all of that. I was able to go work at TGIJP in California for a year. And when I came back, I did everything from working with the ACLU to like really taking Visible T to the next level, to where I present almost every single year at BTAC, and I'm now doing policy work. So like it came at a time where I wasn't expecting to grow. Like she literally was like, AJ, I'm about to call you. I said, okay. You need a job? Yeah. You would have to, what would it take to get you to California? Like, I'm thinking about like California and my contract was for a year. And I went out there, lifed. After the passing of my father, I kind of like checked out of life and I needed to be back home. So wrapped up the contract. I still have a great relationship with Miss Janetta. Still had a decent relationship with some of the folks. We recently just lost 2 folks associated with TGIJP. So, you know, I hope they rest in peace. Those were actually really, really tough on me. But that type of investment in your leadership development, I've only experienced coming from Black and brown folks. And I cherish that shit. It might not look like it in the moment because, you know, feelings and emotions and feelings aren't always facts. But I've been held the best that way in community. So we shouldn't be afraid of community. You shouldn't be afraid of your discernment not working.
Yeah. It's and as I'm listening to you, say all this and so forth, I want to know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know, how do I find the resources to be a part of it more? You know what I'm saying? Like, where do I go? Who can I talk to figure out, who do I need to talk to? Who could best identify within me what I can do to help the cause, or, you know what I'm saying, to assist in all of this. And then, now you're working on policy, you know what I'm saying? And what, from just in a couple of years, from where you walk through that door to where you're at right now you're working on policy for trans individuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's tremendous, because right now that is what the hell we need. And it's, regardless of who becomes president, it's what we need. And if we don't do something, if we don't continue to progress, we're only going to keep ourselves back. We're going to keep ourselves from moving forward. You know what I'm saying? We got to find the right individuals who can help us leverage what we have and what we can do to actually progress to get what we need, regardless of who's in office, regardless. And that's something that I want to definitely stress. I mean, there was who was it? I had the last episode that I filmed for last season. I was talking to a couple of gentlemen, and we were talking about trans people of color, and then one of the gentlemen had made a comment, and it was talking about how it was a white trans man from Ohio who was a Trump supporter. And then it just, like, you know what I'm saying, when you hear something like that, and in the same sentence, it's just like, what? Like, what? That man doesn't stand for anything of what you are. You're a big part of your identity. So exactly what the fuck are you, like, you know what I'm saying? It don't make sense. And then I even had a conversation with a couple years back, a gay guy, but then, you know, he was also white, so therefore he could hide his gay identity because he's white. But he, you know, was a major Trump supporter. And I was just like, you do know they talking about electroshock, right? They want to electroshock the gay out of you, but that makes sense of who you want to vote for. Like,
I kind of don't trust Republicans as a whole, because let's talk about the fact that the Republican National Convention crashed Grindr, and then we can talk about why y'all have so many things that y'all want to prevent from being out. Grindr put that out there. We know y'all closets. We know y'all like, our closets are fat. That's why we're not in them. Our clothes are. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, like, I don't have time for closeted gays and malfunctioning white folks. Like, I really don't. Like, when you come from a very particular experience of being a little white girl, okay, maybe the Karen in him is not gone and he wants to be grabbed. Because, you know, Karen Juniors can be changed. But when you grow up and then you decide, we gonna flip it from Karen to Chad, that's still a Karen. It's in boy form now.
yeah.
So,
You know,
like,
so
white trans men being Trump supporters are like just elevated Karens.
Yeah.
They're just the boy version. So you're Chad, how you doing, girl? Yeah. And this is not no disrespect to the man he is. This is like literally how I speak when I'm talking amongst like community. So like, if you're not familiar with the gay lingo and any of that stuff, miss me. That's not my fault. But like, no, like I actually think about that quite often when I see white trans men who are Trump supporters. I think about their existence from their past, what they would have been groomed to understand about life, and then, oh, well, that just makes sense. And now you've transitioned, you've elevated yourself in society as the number one person on the fucking totem pole. Why wouldn't you be a Trump supporter?
Yeah. Yep. Then, and I think the exact same thing. That's constantly a thought that comes into my mind. I mean, I just, I don't know if you've read White Fragility, right? And there's a part in the book where she talks about white woman's tears and how white woman's tears is what has affected Black society. You know what I'm saying? Because you have white women who are sitting here crying wolf in situations that don't need to be crying wolf in, or not, that are just falsifying everything. But it plays a tremendous catastrophic toll on the Black society. So then when I see these white trans men, Trump supporters, I then think these are the same individuals who utilize their white woman tears, and now they've transitioned into the number one fucking thing on the pedestal. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like, so sometimes I feel sort of like, can I trust you in a sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can I trust about you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because just because we're translated, that does not mean anything I'm saying. Like, we might have a similar experience of the body transition, but the mental state, the undertones, we are.
Because y'all could be racist too.
Yeah.
You're not that marginalized where you can't be racist, baby. It's not a possibility. And when people start believing that, oh, I can't be racist, I'm transgender, you're racist just from the thought.
Yeah, 100, exactly. Just from the damn thought. The fact that was a thought that you even processed. You're racist. 100%. 100%.
But you did bring
Yeah.
up, like, how do you get there, right? So if I could give a couple of things, I would say, first off, develop a network, develop friendships, develop relationships with folk. Not everybody's gonna be your friend in this, but if you find people in your lane that are successful, let's start there. That's Find people in your lane that are successful. There are people within my circle that utilize technology and different things that I use to do my advocacy work. So anything tech, I go to my brother EC. If I need somebody to help me like craft language or like bounce stuff off, I'll talk to my partner or I'll talk to other folks that are very well spoken. Like, hey, is this message clear? I might even ask AI, you know what I mean, craft this
Yeah.
speech for me and add my tone. Um, utilize all your tools at your disposal. One person that I really think that would be a great person for you to link up with is either Diamond Styles or Miss Mouthy. They have two successful podcasts. I've done interviews on both of their shows, and I can honestly say that Diamond is she worked her way out of, I want to say she was working in hospitality, worked her way out of hospitality through that way. So like develop that network, develop those relationships, and then what support looks like is us. We're your market. You don't want to necessarily get your support from your market. You want to have a market. So, like, definitely focusing on what your market is actually talking about, figuring out what the trends are in conversation, using Twitter for more than porn. I'm sorry, I'm an adult. I'm an adult. And I know we go on the Twitters, okay, or X. Excuse me. Let me not misgender them or misname them. But no, like that, just being intentional. Again, like as soon as you said, "Hey, are you still available?" I was ready to have this interview. So like, just like from the conversation that we initially had in the bond over culinary, also you will find a lot of guys that transitioned out of culinary that got into advocacy. I actually can think of like 5. Ebo and I figured out that we both went to the Art Institute. We were actually there with another sister who came out of culinary, and she went to Le Cordon Bleu. But we come, a lot of us come out of the culinary industry. So like, hey, anybody has these two intersections, like podcasting and culinary, like
Yeah. But so for me, I do still love the industry, and I don't necessarily want to leave it, but I want to make it more inclusive. I want to see more successful Black trans people in the culinary industry and being able to be open about it and being able to, you know what I'm saying, make it more acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Because where I'm at right now, no one knows I'm trans. I'm not hiding it, but I'm also not open about the fact that I'm trans. I would love to own a hospitality group that is so inclusive and acceptable of the LGBT community, where what happened to you, your experience, or even my experience, they're looking like the fool. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's so foolish for them to even think about or even want to say out of their mouth the blasphemy that comes from it, because being trans so isn't taboo. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've created that. I want to provide job opportunities for individuals to know this opportunity is for you. And if you want to be out and proud and loud, the space is yours to do that by all means.
okay. And then we could take the other approach that I did. I was very intentional about looking at the employee manual when we were trying to unionize at my job. So I made sure that gender identity became a protected class, because it was not a protected class in the policy, company manual policy at all. So I made sure they were like, well, sexual orientation. I said gender identity needs to be on there. It's the state of Pennsylvania is a commonwealth. It's an at will state. If it's not protected, they will have a loophole. Nobody needs to be fired because they are a gender variant person. And that can be trans man, trans woman, non-binary individuals, because there's a lot of us in the industry.
Yep.
Yes. So starting with the top, like if there is a company manual, make sure that gender identity is a protected class. That is absolutely necessary. Your company manual becomes the thing of governance for your company, not the state, the company. So that is going to make their job, give them job security. That is going to give them an opportunity to let you know if your insurance has a trans exclusionary policy, which I also experienced.
Oh, wow.
We switched from one provider to another, and I want to say it was Aetna. And Aetna denied me my entire top surgery because there was a trans exclusionary policy.
Get the hell out of here.
They elected the trans exclusionary policy. So they was like, oh, we're not paying for nothing. So I went from not paying for my testosterone to paying $50 every time I needed to get it. So it was $100 a year because, 5 months, 6 months, depending if you don't miss a shot. You miss a shot here or there on purpose to make it last a whole year.
Yeah.
But like that, yeah. Making the policy inclusive, making sure that the insurance is inclusive, making sure that there are consequences. There's a procedure for any specifics. So like if it's verbal, if it's physical, if it's on site, or if it's like, let's say you got a catering event, include your catering event as an on-site. So like those little loopholes where people think they can cut the fuck up because they're not on the property. Oh no, same thing. Same thing no matter where you're at.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm learning. I'm thinking about, because like I said, I want to start with the food truck, build it up to something big. So you just gave me a lot of stuff to inquire about, think about. Because the business plan that I just submitted for the loan for the small business loan or whatever, one of the things that I actually pointed out in that business plan is the fact that I am a person of color. I'm also a veteran, and I'm also part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And so I want my business to create spaces for those individuals, one, to work, and also for those to enjoy themselves. I want to provide, a good cooked meal to someone, and they don't have to worry about anything. Because we already worry about enough as trans individuals. So the one less worry is what I want to be able to provide. Safe spaces in my overall goal in life that I've realized recently is, one, I look at the things that contributed to who I am right now. And when it pertains to my trans identity, because I will always be trans. Me being trans is not going to stop. One, keeping a roof over my head. That's why I'm in real estate. I want to be able to provide housing for trans individuals who are at that starting point of their life where they're pursuing their trans identity, but whether it's their family or whatever the case may be, they don't got a place to lay their head, or they don't have they don't have safety. They don't have a safety net. And I want to give trans people at least to know that that's there. Give them a job. Because, I will say that although my entire life has been in the hospitality industry, it did provide me with some nice comforts. I was able to travel and had the flexibility to travel. I was able to be able to afford flying to and from California because I was in hospitality to have the surgeries that I've been having. So I want to find out how I can best give all of the stuff that made this possible for me and give it to other people. And, I feel like it definitely starts with your take on policy and the policies that you're able to do, having these discussions, going out to the communities, finding out what's needed and what can make things possible. It's that's what I'm for. That's what I'm for.
If you literally put out a call for trans guys in the culinary industry, almost all of us have had to work as a cook at one point in a time or another. Because one, it's an easier industry for us to get into. And then two, it's easy to climb up if you're stealth. That's another thing that people do not say out loud. It's an easy industry to get into and stay in and elevate very quickly if you're stealth. If you're unfortunately one of the hot boys, like Jason, I believe, was in the industry as well. He's now a fitness trainer outside of it, but he's also using his culinary skill as a part of his fitness training. Like there's tie-ins all the way around, but we usually like go in, make our money, get the fuck out. Yeah. Because it's not safe for us to be out. If I'm all the way honest,
that's fact. Because even right now, although I'm saying like I don't hide it. I know for a fact right now, if I was to go with the company that I work for right now, if I was to go in there and let people know that I'm trans, I honestly cannot say that I would still have a secure job, that my position in leadership would even be secure. I can honestly say that I know for a fact that my employees would not respect me. I know that. And the only reason why I've even made it to where I have progressed in my career, regardless of the fact that it has been Black and brown people that has gotten me there, it's also because my career, I am stealth. They do not know me as someone who is trans.
And that's a thing culturally that Black and brown people that don't know are more likely to elevate you if they think that you are cis hetero.
Yep.
Those are things like even cis queer folks have a little bit harder of a time and struggle within the industry elevating up unless you're a flamboyantly gay guy working front of the house. That is a completely different experience because you're seen as welcoming and things of that nature, but that's a whole nother situation in itself because that then buys into the pretty politics. There's also a level of the less threatening kind of queer, and all the microcosms that most Black folks have to like think about when we go into work, and like down to the code switching. Like,
yep. Code switches is yeah. The code switching is hard. It's hard, and I mean that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I want to, just to circle back. That's why I want to create the hospitality group that I want to create. That's why I want to do the things that I want to do because I want those spaces to be inclusive. I want someone to feel like, hey, they're working for a company where they are able to be open and out and not have to concern themselves about what's going on. I will say one of my bosses, we've had a couple of conferences come into town from DC, and they're I can't think of the name of the conference, but their LGBT community conference. And, she sends out a memo and she specifies in that memo that pronouns are to be respected, to not, to not make individuals feel out of place. And I appreciate that she does it, like that she brings awareness to the fact that these individuals, we are hosting these individuals. So to make sure you go out of your way to make these individuals feel comfortable in this environment. And I think that's appropriate. I think that's what should be done, especially when you have this type of industry where you have individuals who have to hide and don't necessarily feel like the respect is there in the first place.
Something that I experienced everywhere we went out while we were down in Atlanta, every restaurant we went to, they made sure we had trans servers. And I was like, at first I was like, wait, oh, that's Lil Sis right there. But the gag was when we went to Maggiano's, they sent over one of the bartenders and he happened to be a very young trans guy. And I was just like, Oh, baby boy, what up? I don't see one of us every now and again. Like, shit. And I can tell because you got, you don't know how to bind that right yet. It's okay. You did a good job. I just need to tell you how to tuck that joint under your armpits, young man. Like, but I let them know that, like, bro, I see you.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's so crazy.
Like, I don't know. I didn't know if you was out at work or whatever. So I was just like, bro, I see you. How you doing?
That's where I worked. Maggiano's is where I worked, where the issues of my identity. Maggiano's was where it's at. And I mean, but you see that type of establishment. That's considered a fine dining establishment. You know what I'm saying? Like it's primarily a white space of individuals. Any Maggiano's that, whether it's been in Atlanta or DC or even California, your patronage is mainly white people. So their concern as a corporate business is the comfortability of these white folks who don't know necessarily how to handle your existence.
Which is wild because, I'm a human.
Yeah, that part. That's all it is.
How to handle me. I'm not an animal that needs to be handled. I am a human that needs respect.
I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this. Just have this conversation with me. And even, I'm hoping that other individuals tune into this. Because like I said, I see these types of conversations as therapy in a sense, because it, one, allows individuals to know that they're not alone, that we've all had similar types of experiences. We've all have been in jeopardy or have been outed. You know what I'm saying? It's when you are trans, the constant thought is, will you be stealth or will you let the world know? That's not a decision that people bypass. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a constant reoccurring decision of how you decide to live your life and whether or not you decide to enjoy it. And, now I want to enjoy my life now. No more the anger. I'm trying to enjoy my life now.
As you should, fam.
All right, AJ. I appreciate it. I will definitely be reaching out. Please, when you have a moment, that list of resources that you said that you could send email to me, that'd be great. That'd be great. So I can know how to get this going. Honestly, like I said, I don't want to keep it to myself, but I do want to share it. I want more people like us to be in creative spaces. I'm actually doing an episode on trans people in creative spaces in general, like touching that, the art world, whether it's music or painting, poetry, writing a book, a story. I want more exposure to that in general.
And we deserve it. We definitely deserve it. It's time for us to come up out the shadows. So,
trans president, 20 years.
I'm here for it. You know what I mean? We're gonna be a little while off, maybe 2 terms from now. But I'm definitely going to be running for a public office within the next few years because it's time for us to actually have a face that looks like us, that is not going to, just take one office and be okay with that. Oh yeah, I was a part of history. Great gowns, beautiful gowns. What I want is for us to go and impact change, because we live in the same neighborhoods as our cis counterparts. We're your neighbors. We're your garbage men. We're your postal workers. We're all over the place, and y'all have been living amongst us, and we have been living amongst you. And like somewhere in there, needs to be some kind of conscious coexistence, because a lot of us tend to like ignore those around us until we're hyper aware.
Yeah.
So we're just your neighbors. Treat us like such.
Yep. Agreed. Oh, I look forward to the day. And it's so crazy too. I like more recently, I want to say in the last, since I decided to be on this journey myself, I'm just like, I feel like the individuals are there. The possibility is there. We can take up that space. We can be in those spaces of being in office. And I looked at the stat, and I mean, the number, less than 0.1% of individuals are in the LGBT community are even anywhere remotely in politics whatsoever, and even less than that is trans. So it is, in last year alone, that was the most bills passed against us. What was it, like 250, something like that? About 500 or so went. Only about 200 or so were passed, and it's just like they coming for us. So we need to be there to ready to attack and be in the front lines. Ain't nobody else gonna do it for us.
I've always said that I'm ready to play offense because I'm tired of playing defense. And this is going to be an offensive move. What I'm doing is I'm removing the limitations that I was taught. I was taught that if I didn't go to college that you can't do this. I am moving active legislation through the state legislature with a high school diploma. Because I didn't finish at the Art Institute. Also, it wouldn't have counted no damn way. I would have had a degree for nothing. But that refund check would have been nice, because no shade. We have to remove those limits because we were taught a bunch of lies. We were taught that we are not deserving of love. We're not deserving of prosperity. We're not deserving of a lot of things as trans people. Also, it's a part of the reason why some of us go stealth, just so we can have that sense of normalcy, to kind of tie back into what I mentioned earlier in my story. And now that I'm out, now that I'm free, now that I've been liberated in such a way, you can't weaponize my identity against me, because I leverage that shit to get my people what they need.
Yep.
And that's a power that I did not expect to get. So, like, if we want to start tapping into our power, we have to be more politically aware. Get a politic. Fellas, I'm so tired of hearing, well, if the girls wasn't out here tricking. Let me explain to y'all something. For my fellas that love hip hop, if you do it for the money, you are what? Prostitute. So no matter how you look at it, you out here tricking for your cash all the time, player. Stop judging people because you think you don't do sex work. Because there's a lot of us that used to be stud dancers. That's sex works, my love. And I want people to start thinking about things in a different way. We need to be better to our trans femmes, and our trans women need to be more receptive and open to us. I don't even want to tell y'all that I ran into T.S. Madison on my way from Atlanta, and y'all know that whole thing with the conversations about what we got going on, and I mentioned it, but she also said that she saw the interview that I did with Bree Star. That to me let me know, sisters, y'all are capable of listening to us too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay too. We are the men of your community. We could probably tell you more about womanhood and girlhood than a cisgender man could ever. But that's another conversation entirely. I'm preaching. I'm off my soapbox. No.
Oh, man. All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate this.
No problem, bro. Thank you again for having me.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I look forward to more. I look forward to seeing you T-Pac.
B-Tech?
T-Tech?
B-Tech?
P-Tech. What the hell am I saying?
My God, today.
All right, man. Thank you, man.
No problem, bro.